Oh, hello there, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 9 of Gutsy Media Podcast. My guest today is longtime friend and co-collaborator on Those Geeks You Know, Dave Lee. We discussed 2018 superhero horror movie Brightburn, starring Elizabeth Banks and Jackson Dunn. What a crazy movie this was. My local spotlight this episode is an absolute favorite of mine, Tony's Birdland, located at 3860 Dewey Avenue. Tony's Birdland has been a go-to place when it comes to great food and friendly atmosphere. Ask anyone I've ever gone to dinner with, Tony's Birdland is always my suggestion. Their popcorn chicken and signature sauces have just the right amount of bite and flavor combo. Tony's Birdland, try them. You'll like it. Trust me. And now, on with the show. So we had a little trouble coming up with a movie. I take the approach of I really want the guest to pick the movie. Some people go with, oh, this is my favorite movie, you gotta check it out. Some people are like, well, here's a movie I've never seen before either, and I've wanted to see. And other people, it's like, just here's a bizarre movie that I think you should watch because it'd be fun to talk about. You asked me, so I think every movie fan slash, you know, pop culture fan has a list of videos or movies or games or whatever. I am no different. I have a list of movies that I've been wanting to watch and just haven't found the time. They're not the blockbuster at the top of my list.
Right.
And you asked for my list. I sent it to you, and you picked the movie Brightburn off of it. Why this movie of all the other ones?
So the reason I didn't just come up with a movie is because I feel like we've seen a lot of the same movies.
Mm-hmm.
We have discussed a lot of the same movies.
And have notorious opposite opinions on a lot of movies.
We do. But we've discussed those at nausea on other podcasts. So I kind of wanted to watch something I haven't seen. Because I love doing that. I love watching movies. I love seeing new movies. I miss like when Tuesday movie releases were like a thing because nothing's been coming out due to COVID.
Right.
Like when this whole thing first started, like every Tuesday I go to Redbox and I get whatever movie came out. Whether it was Birds of Prey, I watched just a handful of movies, and now it's like nothing,
Mm-hmm.
So when you gave me the list, I'd been wanting to see Brightburn since it was in theaters. I missed it in theaters. I just didn't have time, or we went and saw other stuff instead. But I mean, it's a James Gunn flick, so it's like his first thing since Guardians and that whole debacle.
So James Gunn is credited as a producer on this movie. The writers of the movie are Brian Gunn and Mark Gunn. I'm assuming some sort of brothers, cousins.
Yeah, I know. What's his name? Sean, I think, is his brother, the one that's in all his movies.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the same thing during the credits. I was like, oh, yeah, that's got to be related. I'm sure Casey would know. But yeah, I'm assuming they are related to him in some way.
Yeah.
But so I figured James Gunn, the concept to me is super original and something we all have wondered. Like it was kind of pitched and marketed, if I remember correctly, as what would happen if Superman was bad. Because it's the same story. This ship crashes in Kansas to farmers,
which is crazy to me. Because I mean, this is a relatively simple concept. I'm surprised it took somebody so long to do it, at least on this sort of blockbuster. I mean, I don't want to say high budget because the budget was only $6 to $12 million, depending on what source you look up. But this kind of blockbuster type scale.
Yeah, I think the reason is just because. And they had to make, and this is one of the things I was most interested about this movie. They had to make the decision quick. What route are we going? Because Superman being bad, as I air quote to people at home, how far are you going with this?
Right. Because, I mean, we oftentimes joke, as you've mentioned several times, is that Warner Brothers or DC has two comic books or two main characters, the guy who can do everything and the guy who has everything. Superman is the guy who could do everything. I mean, if he wanted to, he could rule the galaxy, because he has the power to do so.
He could take the world.
So you're gonna make him a bad guy. I mean, he can be the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, so you had to figure out how far you were going to go with this. Like, how bad are you going to make him? Is he just kind of bad? He hurts like ants with a magnifying glass or something, or is he like legit fucking evil? So I was very interested to see which route they went, but I think it takes a special group to decide to go fully. We're fully going. He is all powerful and he is bad. Like, people don't often want. I feel like that's what took so long for somebody else to do this movie, is because you have to be willing to cross that line. And a lot of times in movies that they're bad, but they're not bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they do some stuff, they defend themselves and use their powers on accident or something like that. But like, they're not going out actively looking to hurt people. So I was super interested because this movie, I wanted to see how far they took it and if they turned it into a horror movie. Because I got those vibes too from some of the trailers, and I was like, this could be really interesting.
Which they did. They turned this into a horror movie, for better or for worse.
Yeah, for better
I
or for
think
worse, it's correct.
so. James Gunn, and a lot of the press I saw for this movie, James Gunn is, they don't really call it out specifically, but it's hinted at that this was his idea. That he kind of pitched the idea, and then Mark and Brian, who again I'm assuming are relatives, decided to sit down and actually write the story, and with his help, get it made. Elizabeth Banks is the star. She plays the mom. Pretty big name. She's basically the only big name in the movie. David Denman, who is credited from Roy from The Office.
Yeah,
he's probably the second biggest name, and that is not saying much because he's not a big name at all.
Nope. The dude from Breaking Bad is the uncle.
Oh yeah, that's
one of the meth heads. I forget his name.
Matt Jones, I think is his name.
Something very basic like that.
Yeah, Matt Jones. He plays Noah, who is brutally murdered by his nephew. But so where do we start with this movie?
Where do we start?
So here's my issue. We're gonna come out guns a-blazing right now.
Well, can I ask you a question first?
Yeah, go ahead.
What were your expectations?
I didn't have much. I saw the trailer, same as you. I thought that it was an interesting concept. What if Superman was bad? And I kind of anticipated seeing like a mildly horror superhero movie. Because I mean, obviously, when you talk about Superman being bad, his ability to do bad is it's infinite. There. I mean, yeah, infinite, exactly. I think I think the movie is lacking in two major areas. Just two. Okay. I think the concept is good. I think some of the execution is good. I think the issues are the runtime for this movie is exactly 90 minutes. Exactly. I think that's an issue. I think we're at 23 minutes when we see him break the girl's hand, which is really the turning point when he starts becoming like brutally bad. And at 23 minutes into the movie, I don't care about him. I don't care about the family. I have nothing invested at this point. So my issue is, the rest of the movie isn't. There's not much there. I mean, I'm seeing him do these things, and I don't have any care as to who he's doing them to or his story plot.
Yeah. So I mean, my biggest takeaway was there was zero struggle. He's mowing the lawn and chucks the lawnmower across the farm. And then like the next scene, I don't remember exactly how it went, but I think the next scene he breaks the hands or he fucked with the chickens. There was no internal battle of, do I want to be bad? I've been raised by these people my whole life. They've treated me pretty good. Nothing. I just threw a fucking lawnmower and stuck my hand in the blade and I was fine. Now I'm going to start.
For the record, people. He chucked that lawnmower like 300 yards, and then when he went to go get it, it's still running. Like, is that lawnmower made out of industrial steel? What is that?
Yeah, it was a little dented.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. There wasn't really much character development here, so he went from like 0 to 60 pretty quickly, and I kind of thought like, oh yeah, why not? I mean, he's a 12-year-old kid who just found out he's God. Uh, of course, he's not going to understand the severity of his actions and the repercussions and so on. But I think the other big thing this movie was lacking is there was no counterbalance. And I understand the premise of it being a horror film, and you don't oftentimes see a counterbalance to Michael Myers or to Freddy Krueger. It's usually just some random teenage kid or whatever. But I think when you're doing a superhero type movie, you've got to have the counterbalance of, some sort of good aspect because I mean, as you got later in the film and this kid starts, really letting loose, I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, there's no stopping him. There's nothing else in the world that exists that's going to stop him. So it wasn't until towards the end of the film, his mother, Elizabeth Banks, realizes that, oh, the for whatever reason, which they don't go into detail at all, the ship that he came down in, a lot like if he gets cut by that, he bleeds and nothing else hurts him. So I'm gonna stab him with the ship, which even that was like 3 minutes. He finds out and then kills her. I don't know. I think you needed to have a longer movie with more character development, and I think you needed a counterbalance for this, abrupt evil in this child.
Yeah, so I completely agree with the length. Like I remember sitting down, my wife was like, Kate was like, I don't know if I can. It was like 8:15. She's like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay up for this whole thing. And I'm like, it'll be over in by 10. Like we'll be fine. She watched the whole thing. So like I agree with the runtime. Like I needed more character development. I think the thing with the counterbalance to me is Michael has his sister. Michael Myers has his sister.
Right.
So in this movie, to me, it should have been the mom. However, there was no, like I said, like the counterbalance would have been enhanced had he given a shit. Had he had any remorse or hesitation at hurting his mom or dad, his mom could. Then that's the internal struggle. Like, do I go all the way evil? I can do whatever I want, but I have to kill my mom. I have to turn this page. There was no struggle. There was no hesitation.
Zero. Yep.
Nothing. So I think that hurts because that hurts her character. It hurts the counterbalance because he doesn't care about her. So maybe she's never going to be his equal on a physical or power level, but she might have been able to mentally become his equal. I felt like if he would have hesitated or cared that this person that raised him, he was going to hurt.
Yeah,
Like,
if he had remorse at all. I mean, he does some pretty awful things in the movie, and at no point in time, I mean, if anything, you see him like actively cover up or present a I don't care attitude when confronted with some of the actions he's taken. And yeah, same thing. I mean, you just felt that even if the mom did make an effort to like lovingly try to stop him, she wasn't going to get through to him anyway. So it was kind of a
right.
waste.
And yeah, that really disappointed me. The thing, and also the thing with the ship and the ship being all that could hurt him, like way too obvious a reveal. As soon as that happened, because like 3 minutes before, the dad Roy was like, "He's never had a cut. He's never bled," and then like the next scene, he cuts his hand on this thing, and I look at Kate and I'm like, "Well, that's the only thing that can hurt him.
There you go.
That's his kryptonite from his planet." Again, staying on the Superman theme, the only thing that can hurt him is the thing that he came in. Like,
So here's the thing I love though, and here's the only really redeeming factor. Thank you.
redeeming, yeah,
The,
redemptive.
the only redemptive factor of this movie is the end.
Hmm.
And when I say end, I mean literally like the last 2 minutes. They reveal that he is not only so you get this like TV show or like a deep web, YouTube channel where this crazy person is talking about all these super evil creatures throughout the planet, and you get this evil Flash, evil Aquaman, some ghouly, woman who wraps people up in ropes. So it's obviously Wonder Woman reference. And then obviously you have Brightburn as the Superman reference, and it's like, oh, it's an evil Justice League. You're gonna go the full. You're gonna do the full gambit. Let's do this. Let's give me the origin stories. Show me the evil Justice League crossover. But again, I need a counter to that. I need the good Lex Luthor. I need the good Joker.
For more, yeah, and I need it for more than an hour and a half. Like, if you're going to tell me the background stories, the origin stories, I need more. I need to care. Um, I like the end because, again, while we said what I said at the beginning about how this movie they had to decide they were going to go full, they went fucking full. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he just murders people in brutal fashion. Sometimes I thought corny and bad CGI, and then the plane thing, I thought that was cool because he makes that decision that now he's actually going to just kill all innocent people and not
Which
just people
and
he knew.
and that's the Superman thing, right? Like you always see in the comic book or in the movie, the Superman is saving the jet from crashing in. It was in the Keanu Reeves one. It was in the remake, Superman Returns. It's been in the comic book a ton of times. Um, so yeah, we are jumping around a little bit, and the only reason why I'm not too worried about that is because this movie storyline is exactly what you think this movie storyline would be. So it's Superman's origin. The movie picks up with Elizabeth Banks and her husband David Denman. We should call him Roy.
Right. Yeah.
Elizabeth and Roy are literally in bed, getting ready to do it, and they're
Bow,
making all these comments
bow.
of like, "Can't wait till we have kids.
Yeah.
Let's try this again so we can have a kid. We
Yeah.
really want a kid." And then the spaceship crash lands in the backyard. And one thing I do like is they didn't go into extraordinary length of like, oh, we're gonna go out, we're gonna find the child, what are we gonna do with it? It's just the opening montage is all these photos of the baby growing up. Like you automatically know what happened. They found the child and they're raising it as their own. And the movie picks up with the child at the age of 12. There is some less than subtle hints that the kid is going through puberty. They find like some magazine cutouts under his bed. And much like Clark Kent's parents did, the Elizabeth and Roy decide to save the spaceship. They have it hidden in the barn that the child was found in, and this spaceship suddenly turns on and starts like demonically telling the child to like kill everybody and take over the world.
Take the world. Yeah. I actually really liked that opening segment. I liked getting to know the kid through him growing and getting older through the the recordings and the like. I liked that they did that because they saved themselves time. We didn't have to watch
100%.
that, and it made him kind of human for a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Like, so I really liked that part. I was really into the movie. Um, the spaceship, like, so it just randomly turns on like his 12th birthday. Like, I almost wish there was some kind of story there. Um,
Yeah, I mean, either give me more about that as to why the spaceship is doing this, or don't use a spaceship as the catalyst for the boys' change. I mean, and here's the other thing. I agree with you. I like the opening montage and how they kind of race through like you guys know the origin story. We're just going to kind of skip it. But the problem is that it makes the drastic turn the child takes later so drastic because you do see like, oh, he was raised in a good family. He has every reason to be a good kid, and now suddenly he decides to be possessed by Satan. Like it makes it too dramatic.
And did you notice in the movie? I think they're playing hide and seek, and the dad's like, "Don't go in the barn. I don't want you going in the barn with all the nails and the boards and all that
Yeah.
stuff." Now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, probably pretty obvious, but it was because. Do you think it was that, or do you think he was concerned about the ship and him finding the ship?
I mean, I guess it could have been the ship, but on the same token, the ship is shown like under the floorboards, locked up with a padlock and some chains. You can't imagine the kid's gonna just randomly come across it. So I mean, I guess that could have been an allusion to that. The other thing is, right before the father's like, "Oh, don't go in the barn. I've told you this 1,000 times." Elizabeth Banks makes the comment to the kid like, "Oh, you're always hiding in the barn." Wait, which is it? Is he always in the barn or is he never in the barn?
Right, and like that's the thing. So was the ship calling him before, or is this just all like he
Yeah,
liked to hide in the barn?
his first nut hair popped out and the ship was like, now's time. Now's the
Yeah,
time to take over the world.
I almost wonder, and again, jumping around, I apologize, but I almost wonder if, for the counterbalance, and if they do a sequel, because the movie made money versus the budget.
Yes, the movie makes 33 million. So almost three times the budget, even at the high end. If so, for all accounting purposes, it is a successful movie.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if there will be the other side of that. I kind of half expected the girl, since she was such an integral character, and because he ends up killing the girl's mom,
Right.
I almost expect the girl to be, and because she kind of stuck up for him, she was like, the smartest people are the ones that rule the world, or whatever she told him when he was getting bullied. Like, I almost wonder if there's something with her.
Yeah, so David, I'm gonna butcher this name like I always do.
'Cause
David
she's really,
Yarovsky is the director on this. He has directed nothing else. Some shorts. He had 2 episodes of a TV series called Team Unicorn and a video game that he directed. But he is credited for a short documentary called Brightburn Hero Horror. Um, Not sure what that's about, but there's got to be a sequel either. But this is also low budget, so the fact that I mean there might not be a sequel, who knows?
she's literally the only other character out of all the school kids. She's the only one they put any attention and energy into.
Yeah, I mean every character in this movie is either a relative of his or somebody he murders.
Or just forgettable, like the one kid at school that picks on him.
Yeah.
So I did wonder that. I wondered if we see something to do with her.
Well, that's the other thing. You mentioned the kids at school that pick on him. There really is nobody that picks on him. Like the girl calls him a name one time, and that's because he's already acting really creepy. So this you don't get this idea like, oh, here's a kid's been beaten down by society and he's lashing out. You don't
Well,
get that sense either.
right, she called him a creep because before that he was in her window.
Yeah.
Like the
So
only time he got picked on was the one kid who's like, "You're weird" or something like that. When he starts going off about when the teacher asks him a question, he starts like expanding on the answer. And
right.
the one kid says something to him, like picks on him a little bit, but like that's your straw. Like,
That's it. Now I must slaughter everybody.
yeah,
So he starts developing these powers. He realizes he's got super strength and he can fly and he gets drawn to the spaceship, deciphers this language the spaceship is speaking to him in, and the spaceship is telling him to take the world. And he has a bad run-in with the girl at school, ends up crushing her hand, which causes the mom of the girl to like freak out that this kid's being a crazy person. So he goes after the mom, sneaks out and goes to her work and like brutally murders her. Winds up killing all the chickens on the farm. Once he crushes the girl's hand, like the counselor at school, who's also his aunt because he lives in a small podunk
which
town.
which would never happen. Like
And the,
Kate, my wife, the therapist, is like no, she can't see him. They would call someone else in. You would
and
hire
they
someone specifically for this case.
and they address this. The aunt's like, I know it's weird that I'm also your guidance counselor, but we've only got 3 teachers in the whole town, so it's just some
Like,
throwaway line that's completely ridiculous.
I just don't get it.
So the counselor played by his aunt is making comments to him about how she's got to evaluate him to make sure that he's okay and report back to the sheriff and the principal and the mom and the other 4 people in town. And the kid, for whatever reason, rather than just pretend to be cool and normal, decides like, well, I can't let her report back, so I'm gonna kill my aunt.
Right.
But then
Oh,
doesn't.
hold on. Hold on. Speaking of the sheriff, when they're investigating the mom's murder, the girl's mom's murder, this dude is like looking at stuff and then randomly just breathes on the window to see the symbol. Like something just told him, I'm going to breathe on this window. I
So
got a feeling this kid drew a bunch of symbols. Someone drew a bunch of symbols all over this place.
what's even better is the kid's name is Brandon Breyer, and the symbol he makes is like this. I can't even describe it. It's similar to like the S's you used to make on your folder when you were a kid using all the lines,
Mhm.
but it's essentially 2 B's that are back to back. But you're not going to look at this symbol and go, oh, that's clearly 2 B's. The sheriff finds the symbol, goes to the kid's house,
Twice.
and then shows it to his mom. So, I saw this symbol at a crime scene and immediately thought it was 2 B's, and they must stand for the initials of the 12-year-old boy who was involved in this murder. Like, what?
So
What?
I agree that I don't like that was far fetched, but like now that I'm thinking about it, like the kid is connected to both people. It's his uncle and and it's the mom of the girl that he got in trouble about.
But the kid is 12. I mean, you can't tell me if you're a sheriff and you come to this conclusion like, oh, this kid is connected to both murders.
He did just cripple that girl's hand though. Like the
He's
sheriff
12.
already. Did you see what he did to the hand?
That's crazy. There's no way you're coming to that logically.
I agree, but as we're talking about it, I agree that it was kind of crazy that the sheriff was like, first off, goes around breathing on people's windows, which is fucking creepy. And then like he draws the symbol in blood after he like decapitates the meth dude from Breaking Bad, his uncle.
Right. So he goes to the aunt's house to presumably kill her because he shows up in the middle of the night and is in full, Brightburn get up because he's got this mask he made out of his laundry socks.
One more thing. Well, how does a guidance counselor and whatever this dude uncle does for a living have the most high tech security system ever? Like it's talking to her in the house.
Intruder in the backyard.
Yeah, like she's a guidance counselor. She probably makes like $35,000 a year. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying, like
she has the same security system as the Batcave. Intruder alert.
It's a way better security system than I thought she should have had, and I was just like, wow, that's random for this farm person to have this like crazy security system. But
so the kid shows up, and rather than go all ballistic on the aunt, he decides to like just nicely knock on the door and be like, "Hey, don't go talk to the sheriff tomorrow." And the aunt's like, "Nope, totally gonna do it anyway." Oh,
that can't happen.
I guess I'll just walk home here in the middle of the night. And the aunt's like, "Okay, good luck." The aunt just randomly lets him walk home in the middle of the night. Nothing going on there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna call your mom or offer you a ride.
Right. So the kid sneaks back into the house again, presumably to kill the aunt, while the uncle comes home. Now he's had a few to drink. He goes inside, finds the kid like lurking in like a closet.
This is my favorite scene of the whole movie, by the way.
This is the most bizarre scene to me, because at this point in time, this child now knows he's from another planet. He's come across the spaceship to which he came to Earth in that is talking to him. He knows he can fly. He knows he has incredible strength. He's crushed a girl's hand and brutally killed her mother. The uncle finds him in the closet and like rips his mask off and is like, "What are you doing here, you little shit? Get in the car. I'm taking you home."
What the fuck are you doing hiding in my closet with this creepy ass mask? And the kid goes, "It's not creepy." Like I was dying. Like I don't know if it was intentional humor or not, but Kate and I were just dying laughing. Like that is a conversation that you would probably have with your 12-year-old nephew if you found him in your closet. If he wasn't a fucking murdering alien. But yeah, like what the fuck are you doing in my closet with this creepy ass mask in the middle of the night?
And you
Get
would
in my
think,
car.
You would think the kid's like, screw you, laser eyes. I'm gonna chop you. No, and the kid's like, all right, I'll go with you.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's not
my
creepy.
bad.
I made this mask. It's cool.
Don't tell my folks.
Yeah.
And that's almost what sets them off is that he tells the uncle, "Don't tell my parents," and the uncle's like, "I'm totally telling your parents, you idiot."
Yeah, why wouldn't I?
And that's when the kid's like, "Oh, well, now I have to kill you because I don't want my parents to know." All this top 40 music is so boring. Geez, I sure wish I had something geeky to listen to.
Well, I've got just the thing for you, stranger.
Who are you and how did you get in my house?
Don't even worry about that. If you're looking for the latest, greatest, and geekiest podcasts around, you should check out those Geeks You Know.
Those Geeks You Know? Wow. 3 friends talking about comic books, movies, TV shows, all the things that I geek out about. But seriously, you gotta leave now.
Be sure to check out Those Geeks You Know on iTunes and Stitcher. You can also like us on Facebook and Twitter and tell everybody that you know.
You gotta leave. I called the cops. So the kid brutally murders his uncle in like a horrific way. And what I did like about this movie is it was obvious up front that their intentions were to go horror with this, which I'm not saying I love the choice, but I'm saying I think they executed it very well. I think the horror scenes were done to the point where it definitely makes you feel a little uncomfortable. Like it's a horror scene, it's graphic, there's blood, but it's not over the top.
The glass in the eye thing. I could have done without watching that lady pull shards of glass out of her eye like it was a fucking grape or something. Like
See,
that,
I
I thought
like
was,
that. I
I
thought it was
liked it, but I thought that if you're talking about over the top, that and then the face dropping off, like
yeah. So what he does with the uncle is he essentially uses his strength to lift the uncle's truck up into the air and then just drop it onto the ground. And when he does that, the uncle smashes his face on the dashboard, and it completely he
melt
loses his jaw, his bottom
his
half of
jaw,
his
like
face,
jaw like melts off. Like
like wobbles there, like.
yeah, I thought
Um,
that looked bad CGI wise too. I
so
laughed.
yeah, it wasn't great CGI, but based on their budget, I can't imagine it would have been.
But
It,
but
it was
also,
it
sorry,
wasn't
go ahead.
it wasn't horrible. I mean, it
No,
was okay,
yeah,
and they do a great choice in production there, where the uncle kind of covers it as if he's trying to get his jaw back on his face,
mm,
but it essentially just hides the bad CGI for most of the scene.
yeah. No, I agree. I just thought when it like melts off, it was weird. But like, I did like like that scene where the kid's like standing in the road, and the uncle's car turns on, and he sees him, and it won't start. He's like, nope, nope, fuck you, nope. Like that is a conversation that you would really have in that situation. So
Absolutely.
I did like that too. Like if my murderous alien nephew had just run into my car at full speed and stopped it from working, and now I see him in the street ahead of me and my car won't stop, I'm saying all of these things to myself. Like, nope, fuck you, you're drunk, fuck you, start it again, like repeatedly, nope, getting the fuck out of here. I'm just gonna go home and sleep this off because I think I saw something, maybe, or maybe I'm too drunk or whatever.
Right.
But like, I actually did like that scene. I thought that was pretty funny. That dude's whole death scene, that whole sequence of finding him in the closet, the awkward conversation, and then that scene, I really liked.
Yeah, I think it was done pretty well. He kills the uncle. He puts his symbol, at both crime scenes when this happens. The sheriff finds it, and simultaneously, while the sheriff is piecing this all together, like Sherlock Holmes, and approaching the mother with this, who has seen him drawing this symbol on his notebooks and stuff. While that's taking place, the father has already come to the conclusion that his alien son is a murderous demon, and decided, I'm going to kill him. I've raised this child for 12 years, and after what I think might be some crimes he's involved in, I'm going to take him out hunting and shoot him in the face.
So, and the thing about this that I didn't like is how Elizabeth Banks was like defending the son to the husband.
Mhm.
Like, if this had just been like a good son thing with like Macaulay Culkin, where he was like a normal child, and you're like, he did all this stuff, I could see you doubting it. But you know he's an alien. You know something's off. He's already crushed the girl's hand. Like, it shouldn't have been that far-fetched where Elizabeth Banks was like, no, fuck you to the husband. Like, he didn't do anything. Like, the husband's almost doing this on his own.
Yeah, I mean, give me a scene where the husband finds the lawnmower and she doesn't. Or so give me something like he knows more than she does, which is why they don't agree on this. The chickens. Yeah, so he's the one that finds the Brandon outside the chicken coop prior to the chickens all being slaughtered. It's just, yeah, I'm with you. They should either be more on the same page. Like, I'm not saying they have to agree, but don't make it seem like, oh, his idea, which is leading him to murder his son, she can't even fathom. Like,
Yeah,
they're
she can't.
two complete extremes.
She
Plus,
couldn't
I
even.
also go ahead.
I was gonna say she couldn't even fathom that he had gone to that side. That the father had gone to the side of, we need to do something about this.
Right.
Like, she couldn't even acknowledge that. So I thought that was really weird because, like, you know, you've probably been dating this guy. This kid's 12. Probably been dating the guy for a couple of years before you got married and stuff. So you've been dating him 15, 20 years probably at this point, right after he left Pam from the office. But, like, you're really, like, it just seemed, like, weird to me. Like, I feel like she should have been more like, let's sit down and talk about this because you might be onto something. Instead,
Right.
she's like, no, how dare you think about our child like this? Like, really, it's that far-fetched?
And the other thing is, I mean, on his side of the argument, because the movie's so short and we're still only about an hour in at this point, you get the sense that, like, man, he turned on his son awfully fast. Like he must have just been waiting for a reason to shoot him in the face. Like, oh, this is it. This is it. Got to take him out of the woods. I had this planned already. And
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say like it's just a combination of like the chickens thinking he was a weirdo anyway, and then like he immediately blamed him for Noah's death,
Mm-hmm.
even before the aunt was like, "Yeah, he was at our house." So yeah, I do. I think that like again, character development. Brightburn never went through any. He never struggled. He never went through any character development. He just was bad. And then again with the dad in like this most difficult decision you'll probably ever have to make in your life to turn against your son or realize your son's a monster. It just happens. Like it just happens.
Yeah, I mean that's I think that whoever wrote and directed or had part in this movie, I think they had a list of things that they wanted to do, scenes that they wanted to capture, and it was just kind of check, 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 without really focusing on the cohesion between them. And they go too quickly from one choreographed scene to the next that it's not fluid. It's very blocky.
Yeah, it's like you're jumping from plot point to plot point to plot point, but you're not like planting those seeds.
Exactly.
And when you do, they're blatantly obvious, like the kid getting cut on the ship,
Right.
or the mom seeing him draw the symbol.
Right.
I don't know. I just thought you could have like done that nicer or more slow or more precise or whatever technique you want to use. I just felt like they were like boom, 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 boom. Like this is the movie.
So the father takes him out into the woods to go hunting. Attempts to shoot him. The bullet bounces off. He kills the father, and then heads back home.
Which I thought was also corny. That CGI with like the face melting and like
he
laser vision or whatever.
Eye lasers the back out of his dad's face. But what kills me is so now at this point, the son goes back home to kill the mother. Like it's evident that he's going back there to kill the mother. But what the mother hasn't done anything to this point but defend him. I don't see why the son would turn on her.
Because she made the phone call. So the sheriff comes over, shows her the symbol. She defends her son. She runs upstairs, finds the notebook. In the notebook is the symbol and then drawings of every death that's occurred so far.
In very good detail.
Yeah, like the kid's a freaking artist. Yeah. Like, if he doesn't want to be a murderer, he probably has a career as an artist or a graphic designer or something. But
agreed.
So she sees all of this, and then she calls the husband, and without him even answering the phone, like, someone just picks up the phone. She's like, oh my God, you're right, he's a monster. You're right. He killed all these people.
But here's the thing, though. That's kind of what I thought, too. I thought maybe he's turning on her because he thinks she's a part of the assassination attempt that the father had. But her phone call to the father isn't like bad. She calls him and is like, yeah, he had a part in these murders. We got to do something. Like, she's not like, oh, we got to kill him. She's like, we got to get him help. Like,
yeah, I think he takes it as she knows.
So right. Somebody else knows. So I got to get rid of her. So he flies back home and begins terrorizing the mom by like punching holes in the house or something. I mean, I'm not sure why he doesn't just kill her.
Some weird like teenage angst. Yeah, he's just like flying in and out of the house.
And she goes running to the barn, surprisingly makes it there, even though he's super fast and the barn's like 300 yards away from the house.
Right.
She puts two and two together. The ship can hurt him, grabs a piece of the ship, goes to stab him. He stops her. And then there's a pretty cool death scene where he basically takes her and brings her up into the sky, as high as he can, and then lets her go. And then at that point, it's closing credits, which are him, news clippings or news segments of this Brightburn character going on and doing other bad things. But it's everything from like destroying a plane full of people to like crop circles.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So like after he drops the mom, which I also wonder if he's played off as a genius throughout the entire movie, right? Like they make a point that he's intelligent.
There's a scene where they're in the diner and the mom says he's in the top 1%. and the aunt says he's in the top 1% of the 1%.
Yeah, so like it's known that he's a genius. So like, don't you think it would have occurred to him that the shift could hurt him? Because he got cut on it, and he was like, "Oh, that cut me." Like, just
Right.
weird
I've
to me.
never been cut before in my
Right,
life.
right. It's just weird to me that this super genius, like he caught his mom trying to stab him, but I feel like he would never have even let her get to the shed or the barn because like he just wouldn't have done that. But he lets the mom go. The mom's dropping slowly. He looks up and the plane's coming at him, and then that's the end of the movie, right? And then
Right.
first part of the first part of the credits, the plane's on the ground, it's destroyed. We have a newscast saying plane randomly crashed, no one knows why. It killed
Right.
the
He plays it
the
off like it crashed into the home and killed the mom and dad.
killed the mom and dad. He was the only survivor. He's just sitting there fucking eating an apple or something. Like I forget what he's eating. Cookie. No remorse at all.
None.
And I don't care that he didn't show remorse, but you would think that like with these people around, seeing how your family just died, yeah, you got to act, bud.
100%.
But
again, these are the points where it's like I feel like they were checking things off. We got to show the kid doesn't have a remorse. Okay, let's show him in the background smiling, not thinking like, why don't we show him having remorse? Because it would make more sense as to why he's a genius and they weren't piecing this together at all.
Right, like he could have played the victim very easily. Yeah, and then they show like buildings and like him destroying all this stuff, and then yeah, like you said, the crop circle, he like randomly like burns his symbol in like a cornfield. And it just reminded me of the really weird scene from The Dark Knight Rises where Batman's like sitting on top of the bridge and burns like the bat symbol in the sky. And you're like, the fuck? Like,
there's a bomb in Gotham. Right. You don't have time for this.
Like, I get it. You got a cool symbol, man. It's your initials and the city you're from because they live in Brightburn, Kansas. Like, I don't know. I thought that was weird. But I did like how the story continued throughout the credits because it does leave you wondering, are they going to do more?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential. And that's why I say, like, this movie has a really good concept. Mm-hmm. I just don't feel like it was executed well. I have to give a lot of points to the cinematography in this movie. I think the scenes were done very well. Again, some of the CGI wasn't great, but with the budget they had, that doesn't surprise me. I like the fact that it's a horror movie, and a lot of things in the movie are framed around this black and red sort of color scheme to give the illusion of not just, nighttime and dark, but also like things are burning like all the time. There's just like this dark amber red, and it plays into the Brightburn name, which I thought was done very well.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was the movie, except for like the actual action death scenes, like the damage from those scenes, I guess, of like eyes and jaws and stuff. Like the movie looked good otherwise, and it kind of had. Kate and I were trying to figure out the time frame here because it kind of had a Stranger Things 90s kind of feel to it at the beginning because they're in this small town and everything in the house and the diner were dated. I mean, that could just be because it's a small town and things are dated.
Yeah, so the movie is set in 2016 is when the spaceship crashes. 2018, so present day, at the time of the release, is when Brandon goes crazy and kills everybody.
2006 or 6? You said 16. You mean 6, right?
2006 is when the spaceship crashes.
Okay. So yeah, it's just a dated kind of old town, which is fine. But they did that well. They made you think this is a small farm town, a small farm people. Like the movie looked good. I don't know. I liked that I was wondering the whole movie, like, how are they going to have him lose? How are they going to have him, like, is he going to feel bad? You know what I mean? Like, is he going to save, like, a baby at the end? And, like, he's a good guy now? And I like that they didn't. They said, fuck it, and went, he's the fucking villain. Like, he's bad. Like, again, not only killed people he knew that he was associated with and had relationships with, but then he made the conscious decision to kill a bunch of they said like 238 people or something
on the plane at the end.
So he made the conscious decision to kill hundreds of just completely innocent people. And I really liked that because, again, they went full. If you're going to do this concept, you have to go full. And I like that they went full.
Yeah, I agree. So it's funny your comment about the Stranger Things feel. The middle school scenes were shot at Patrick Henry High School in Stockbridge, Georgia. This is the same location for both the Hawkins Middle School and Hawkins High School scenes in season 1 and 2 of Stranger Things.
Nice. That's
Also,
awesome.
The character's name, Brandon Briers, is a play on the Peter Parker, Bruce Banner type double letter names of the comic books.
I thought you were going to say, because I think the kid in Stranger Things is Will Byers.
Oh, no, I didn't even know that.
So that makes sense. And also, like, what's weird about that, too, is, like, it does, all the superheroes, you know, Reed Richards, Bruce Banner, Captain America, no, I'm just kidding. They all have the double initials, but even, like, Clark Kent is C and K, which are super similar. So, I mean, they didn't make any secret about the fact that it's evil Superman. They just,
I mean, he lands in Kansas, same place Superman lands.
The only thing they could have done was put the symbol on his chest and maybe gave him glasses or something. But
right. Yeah. So I mean, all in all, I think it was a good attempt for a low budget movie, and it's. I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't feel like I wasted an hour and a half. I saw again a lot of potential, and I wish they would have executed it a little bit better. It could have been so good.
Yeah, the concept is great. The thought behind this movie is awesome. I wanted to see it as soon as I found out about it. It's something you have talked about as a child with your friends, as kids. What happens if Superman was bad, man? What if, who would stop him? We've seen it in the comics a few times. Bizarro or like Brainiac something happens where he's not good for a little while.
Right.
And how difficult that would be to stop him. So that concept is great. You said the execution just wasn't there. The character development wasn't there. At the end of the day, I didn't give a shit about any of the people. And you should have felt bad when he killed his mom. You should have felt bad when he killed his aunt. I just didn't give a shit. The only person I wasn't going to feel bad about was the girl's mom because she was kind of bitchy anyway. But can we talk about that awkward puberty conversation too?
So the father, upon finding the dirty magazines under his son's mattress,
and
decides
it's like dirty. It's like girls in bras and panties, and then like biology,
anatomy,
intestinal tracts.
And that's the other thing. So he has this ongoing thing throughout the movie where he's like cutting his victims open at the stomach. He does it with the mom. He does it with a couple of the chickens, I believe, as well. But they don't really go into detail as to why that is or why the anatomy parts were found with the girly mags. I mean, I understand the whole premise of like, oh, this kid's really like messed up, where he's kind of getting off to like the anatomy stuff, but it felt really awkward. Yeah, Not as awkward as the next scene where the father tries to have the puberty talk with the son, which they did not hold back on that either.
No. First, I was wondering if they were going to do something where like the intestines, like something in the intestine gives him like strength or power or something, like almost like a parasite that has to feed. Like I thought they might do something like that, but they didn't. He just likes intestines. But yeah, I mean, I don't have boys. I have girls. You have 2 boys.
I have 2 boys, yes.
I would imagine that when this conversation comes up in a few years,
I'm going to have it the exact same way his father
did. This is not how you're going to go about it. Like,
the father basically says, like, yeah, you're going to get hair in strange places, and it's okay to touch your penis.
Yeah.
The kid's like, what?
Touch your penis and go for it.
Sometimes you just got to go for it, son. Touch your penis.
Like, it's not about doing sex. It's about finding someone you love and then having sex.
And the son's like, right now?
Yeah.
No, not right now.
And that was super weird too, right? Because he's like, oh, you want me to touch it right now? And I'm like, what the fuck? What am I watching? Like, this is about to take a really weird turn. I don't know. Like, I know the point was to make it an awkward conversation, but I felt like it went too far, like too awkward.
Yeah, I mean, again,
corny.
What they were checking off the list is we need to have an awkward puberty conversation, but also during the conversation, the father makes several very vague references to like, sometimes you just got to like let it out and just go up with your instinct, and he's like encouraging the son to like give in to this demon ship. But again, I mean, at this point, you already kind of feel like the son is batshit crazy anyway. So you're like, yeah, he's already done that. You're not really pushing him over the edge, which is what I think the intention was like the father should feel some guilt for telling his son to have at it.
Yeah, it's weird because he ended up going to that girl's house, but like this could have been a scene like so. There's a few scenes I felt like where they could have really built relationships, like the dad showing him how to work on the farm, or like there were scenes where he was showing him how to like they were taking turns with chores. They're hunting together. He's tracking deer. Like, show me that. Show me how the dad taught him that, because he's just tracking deer, and they're going like you could have used these scenes because I understand you want to do an hour and a half, so make the most of your scenes. When you have a situation like this, build that relation. You don't need a 3-hour movie to do character development.
Right.
You could have meaningful dialogue or meaningful things happen so that when he does turn and kill the dad, we feel bad or we care. The only conversations the dad ever had with him were super fucking awkward or like yelling at him. Like,
yeah, what'd you do, you little shit?
There was no bonding at all. So I don't know. I just felt like those were wasted opportunities, and this was one of them because it would have been cool. He got the gun for his 12th birthday from Noah. So that would have been cool to be like, Dad, let's go hunting with my gun. Teach me how to hunt. Be a fucking dad.
Right.
And then people would have cared. The audience would have cared later when he killed the dad. He would have been like, oh, the dad taught him all that stuff. Like, that was his dad. Like, no wonder he didn't fucking care because he didn't have a relationship with his mom or dad. Like, no wonder he didn't care about killing them.
Yeah, it's definitely a wasted opportunity. So what I usually do in one of my segments is I like to I've developed 5 questions that I think apply to most movies that I want to ask everybody that comes on the show. So for you, Dave, we're going to be asking this about 2018's Brightburn. Question number 1, what aspects of the storytelling do you think were done right and what aspects were done wrong, and who do you give credit to?
So I think showing him as powerful was done right. We obviously know this dude's all powerful. They give you glimpse throughout the movies that he's not right in the head, that he's kind of fighting an urge to kind of go the other way with it.
And to touch his penis.
And to touch his penis. Like, so I think that those things are done very well. I think developing the horror genre, making this a horror movie, was done well. I think that going full, because like we said, you have to for this kind of movie, that was done well. But like overall dialogue was bad. Character development, other than him going full, was bad. So I blame the director. You're basically handed this awesome story. And I gotta think that what was written by the Guns that wrote it was probably pretty good. And then his job is to tell that story.
See, I disagree. I think the director definitely holds some responsibility for the outcome of the movie, but I think based on the script and how it seems very blocky, it seems very checking things off a list. We have to have this scene, we have to have that scene.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, James Gunn, even if he did help with this, which I got to assume he did, he's not a writer. I mean, he's a director. So he might have been approaching it from a director's point of view of scene after scene after scene. Like, yes, you have to have this scene, you have to have that scene. So I agree with you on what's right and what's wrong, but I think the credit needs to go more towards the writers and the director.
James Gunn actually has written a ton of stuff.
Really? Anything of note?
Yeah, so like 13 Ghosts, which I really liked. He was a screenwriter for that. He wrote the Scooby-Doo from 2002, which is what it is. Dawn of the Dead in 2004.
The remake.
The remake, yeah. The other Scooby-Doo movie. Slither, which he also directed.
Slither's good. I'll give him that one.
He gets. I haven't seen Super. I'd like to. That's kind of another his take on a superhero movie. It's got some big actors in it. Movie 43, which we've talked about with Casey a bunch, like either loved or you hated. He wrote The Guardians. He's credited with writing the Belko Experiment, which if you haven't seen is really cool.
I have not seen that.
Do you know what it is?
I do not. It's got some good actors in it though.
Yeah. It's a social experiment. They basically lock people into like an office building, and a voice tells them that like you have to, if you want to live, you got to kill someone.
Yeah,
Something like that. Like, it's a really interesting concept, and I actually liked it. So he has some writing chops to him. So I'd like to see what the script looked like versus the finished product, like what came out of it, what the director cut, what things like that. Because the concept is there. Just and so I guess that's my thing. We're all saying that it wasn't executed well. We're both saying this.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the execution falls on the director. That's why I blame the director.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on the actual movie as to who has more control. I mean, you look at any of the Marvel movies, the directors have no control in that. Marvel comes in and says, "This is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to film."
I disagree though. I think that
100%, 100%. You can. I'm telling you, especially later on in the series when they had like an established arc. Not so much in the first Iron Man or the Hulk for sure, but
I think they give them like main bullet points and things like that, but they still have to make the movie. Like, you still have to put the product together.
I think the director definitely holds responsibility for the end product. It's just a matter of like what percent, you know? And I think when you look at a Marvel movie, that percent's probably lower than when you look at a movie like this, or, you know, a movie where they're given more of a blank check and free reign.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree to disagree. Like, I don't think they get as much control over the Marvel movies. They still, like, you still have to draw character traits out of people. You still have to build that character up. Like, you still have to make people care. They can say Thanos is going to be the bad guy. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. But you still have to be able to make us care, if that makes sense.
No, 100%, 100%. Question 2: the biggest unanswered question for you about this movie is what?
Biggest unanswered question is, how do you stop him? And yes, or maybe his goal. I think his goal, take the world. Like, that's pretty vague. But yeah, like, how do you stop him? Like, where do we go from here? And I love that they left us there. You know what I mean? We're like, we don't know. The only weakness he was shown was the ship. And by all means, if we think about it, the plane crash could have destroyed the ship, and he might have even done that on purpose. So,
right. Well, I mean, he is such a genius, and he knows the ship can hurt him. You would think the logical thing to do after killing your mother and destroying the family farm would be to take the ship and like throw it out into space or something. Personal connection is important. Was there anything that happened in the movie that reminded you of a real life story that happened to you?
No, I've never gotten ridiculous superpowers and started murdering innocent people for fun.
Not even when you were like a wild teenager.
Feel like.
So I got to ask, what was the puberty talk you got?
I just wish they would have had him bullied more, because then yes, I didn't get much. You don't know my parents. Like, I didn't get much of a puberty talk at all. I kind of had to figure it out on my own.
Still trying to figure it out, huh?
I did all right. I got 2 kids.
That's true. Okay, question number 4.
But you put it where it goes.
Just right now?
In a little bit.
Question number 4. What is the most important sequence in the movie?
The end. Because to me, he decides he's a supervillain. He decides he's killing everyone close to him, and he decides that he's killing innocent people. Before that, he had a relationship with everyone he hurt. So, like, to me,
you're saying there was a reason.
Mom, dad, and innocent people. Yeah. There's no reason to kill the innocent people, and you decided to. So to me, that's taking it to the next level.
Question number 5. If you could recast 2 roles in the film, what roles would they be? Who would you recast in them, and why?
The dad. I don't really know what actor, but someone who could pull off being a dad and help make that relationship mean something. I mean, he lost his fiance to Jim Halpert, so why not bring John Krasinski in as the dad in this movie? Yeah,
there you go.
Like, just someone who I just felt like that. I felt like there was no father-son relationship. So that role, and I mean, there's only like 5 roles in this entire fucking movie. There's like 5 characters. I thought the kid was good. Elizabeth Banks was good. Like, I didn't mind her. I don't know about a second one. Maybe The Ant.
I'm wondering if is she a producer on it? Like, why did she do this movie? Because I mean, she's bigger than this
James
movie.
Gunn. Yeah, I mean, same. I mean, Michael Rucker makes whatever his name is the InfoWars guy at the end. Like, they're all James Gunn people.
Yeah, but he's in
That's
it for
how I
like
look at
5
it.
seconds.
I think she's a nerd. I think she likes this kind of stuff because she's in like geeky stuff, and I think she thought it could be an interesting project. Honestly, like, she's not as big as you think. Like, she's big, but she's not like big, but she's by far the biggest actor in the movie.
I mean, I would consider her
I
A-list.
wonder if she's. I don't know if I consider her. I think if she's A-list, she's like bottom of the A. I mean, she's been around forever. She's that person in every movie that you've seen. You know what I mean? Like, she's
Yeah,
in
for sure.
everything. Like, she did Power Rangers. Like, she makes some weird choices.
She does. Yeah, Power Rangers was a big one for her. Hunger Games.
Like, there's every time there's like 3 or 4 big movies, Hunger Games, but then there's Every Little Secret, and then there's Lego Movie, and then there's Little Accidents, Faces in the Crowd. Like, she just does. I think she takes any role people offer her. She just wants to work.
So one of the other segments we love to do on this show is called Guess That Tomato, where I have my guests guess the audience rating for the movie being 2018's Brightburn. You're going to guess the audience rating, and then I'm going to give you some clues, and you'll get a chance to refine your guess based on those clues. So, Dave Lee, what is the audience ranking percent-wise? 53. That's your guess?
53 is my guess, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give you 2 hints. I'm going to give you the critic score, which usually means absolutely nothing, because in a lot of cases, the critic score is almost completely different from the audience score, which for this movie is a 57%. I'm also going to give you 3 other movies that are within 2% of this score. So plus or minus 2%. These 3 movies are within the same area as Brightburn. Movie number 1, Zombieland Double Tap. Movie number 2, Extraction. Did you see Extraction?
I want to, but I have not seen it.
That is a great movie. I strongly recommend it. It's very Michael Bay. Explosions, bit of a better storyline than most of his movies have as far as context goes, but it's pretty good. And then movie number 3, Alien Covenant. So those 3 movies are all
that
within...
movie's not Michael Bay. It's the Russo brothers, right?
Correct, but it's got a Michael Bay kind of style to it.
Sorry, I'm trying to fix this. Like that Ryan Reynolds movie we all watched.
Yeah, that was what, Underground 6 or 6 Underground or something like that?
6 Underground, yeah. Yeah,
So,
I mean, I don't know what any of those movies are rated for Rotten Tomatoes. But I gotta think Extraction's decently high. I'll give it a 68.
is that your final guess?
That's my final guess.
The actual audience score for Brightburn on Rotten Tomatoes is 67%. Dave, that was incredible. You're within 1%. I'm gonna pipe in some audience applause
I'm
right
in
now.
the top 1% of the 1%. Thank you. You love me. You really, really love me.
Dave,
I know a thing to do about movies. You know?
It has been a pleasure talking about Brightburn with you. Decent movie overall. I think I'd probably give it about a 65%. I mean, it held my attention. At no point was I about to turn it off, but again, missed opportunity.
Yeah, I think I'd go 70 because I mean it's better than average. It's like a C to me, C plus. So like that's a 70.
It is a firm belief of the owners and operators of Don't Forget a Towel that everybody geeks out on something. While it might not be movies and comic books, it may be, gardening and murdering people in your local town.
I've never done this before.
So, Dave, if you could tell the audience members what it is you're geeking out on right now.
Oh, I've never done this before and always wanted to. I am currently geeking out on the NFL being back. Fantasy football is my second probably biggest geekdom. So is sports, the Lakers in the NBA Finals. I'm not really reading much right now. I'm watching a ton of TV with my wife, Netflix, just absolutely running through trashy reality TV shows. And then we're going to start Ozark Season 3 because we haven't watched that yet. We've been waiting for it. So I'm excited to geek out on that.
I appreciate your time. Take care.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay,
DVD is skipping. It needs to go through the RTI machine. Sorry.
Oh god, I went in there the other day when they were having the big sale, and they had the same machine there. 10 years later.
Yeah.